Alright, in this video I'm going to show you guys how to use layers. So layers are going to be very important for the rest of the class as a way to organize your document, keep track of different shapes, and basically kind of protect yourself from not messing things up. And it's going to just be a really good way to make sure everything's organized within your document. Because when we start to get to more complicated pieces of artwork in Illustrator, you're going to have hundreds of shapes for each document, so you're going to need a way to keep all those shapes organized. Best way to do that is in Illustrator. Okay. To access your layers panel, you go to Window, Layers, Window, Layers. It will pop out over here. It looks like this little symbol here. So this is what your layers panel looks like. So I'll just kind of go over what all this is here. You're always going to start with one layer when you open a new document or when you create a new one. So it just says layer 1 here. So this little eye symbol just turns the layer on and off. Just the visibility of it, the layer is still there. This little box right here allows you to lock the layer. So once this is locked, I can now no longer manipulate these shapes. Can't move them around. Once I unlock them, then I can move them around. So that's really good when you want to keep everything untouched. Okay, so there's another one, and locked and unlocked. This symbol right here just expands your layer. Now unlock it. This shows you everything that's in a layer. So everything in there. So right now there's only one rectangle and one oval here. If I copy and paste this, Control C, Control V, just make a different color so we can identify it a little easier. So now we have a third shape here. So this will tell you everything that's on there, even if you have just a stroke. Now I have the stroke here as well. Okay. So yeah, this is just a good way to see everything that's in your layers. So just expand it and make it larger and smaller there. All right, and you notice this symbol here is blue, and this little dot is blue. That's just saying, so anytime you select something on this layer, the dots and this little box around it will be blue. So as you add new layers, this color will be different, and the little box around them when they're selected will be a different color as well. All right. So this symbol here makes a new layer. There I have a new one there. And this symbol deletes a layer. So whatever one is selected, delete it. Okay. A few more notes here just on the general layout of this layers panel. So notice once something is selected, so let's select this green oval. Now it is selected. I just clicked it with my selection tool, the letter V. When it's selected, it gets a little blue dot by it. Okay, so I can choose to select these different things by clicking where this little blue dot is. So if I want to select the red oval down here, find my red oval here and click that dot. Okay, this will help you determine what is selected and what is not selected. All right, so now what we're going to do, I'll show you how to rename the layer, make a new layer, and move objects between layers. So let's just rename this layer 1. We'll call this ovals. So you just double click right here on the name and you're able to rename it. Sometimes you can also double click on that square and it brings up more options. So ovals there, and we'll get to some of these settings later on, but for the most part just renaming it will work for now. Don't need that line there. And make another rectangle too. All right, so now I want to make a new layer and move my shapes up to the new layer. So I'm going to click new layer, and I want this to be named rectangles. So now we want to move these rectangles from this layer up to the rectangle layer. Okay. So there's a few ways to do that. I can expand my layer. So click this little arrow symbol, and then I can just simply drag these rectangles up to the new layer. So I'm just going to click here and drag this up to rectangle layer and drag this one up. So now the ovals are on the oval layer. I'm going to lock that and turn it off, and then expand my rectangles layer, and now my two rectangles are there. Okay. So the more you use layers, the more you'll figure out when and where is the best to use it. I'll show you a few, but we're going to be using them basically with every project from here on out. Okay. There's a couple other ways to move things. So let's turn that layer back on. So if I want to move these rectangles back down to the oval layer, I can select it. So right now it's red because that red color corresponds with the rectangles layer. And I can just click this little dot right here, indicate selected art. So I can just click and drag that down. Now this is on my ovals layer. Okay, let's do the same thing for this one. Click on this, it's selected. And click this little red square and drag that down. Again, really easy way to do that. Move it between layers. Okay. You can do that same thing with more than one object. So if I want to select both of these, they're both selected now, and I can click and drag that up. Okay. So let's make one more rectangle, a different color. We'll turn off the oval layer for now and just lock it. Usually when I'm not working on a layer, I just lock that layer so it doesn't actually accidentally get messed up, or I don't accidentally delete or move something around. Alright, so some of you guys might have noticed this, how to reorder these shapes. So as you can see right now, the orange box is on top, yellow is in the middle, and blue is on the bottom. But what if I want this blue box to be on top of everything? So again, that's the best, it's the easiest way to do that through your layers. So here, I'll click on that box, the blue one, the blue rectangle. Let's come up here to my layers. Send that all, or just drag it up to the top. Now it's on top of everything. Now let's say I want my yellow one to be on top. Let's come down here to the yellow rectangle. It's selected. That's the one selected. I see the red little dot there. And drag that up. So that's a good way to reorder things. Some of you guys have probably needed to do that already on project 1. You might have found a way to do it, but here's another way to do it. You can also do it a different way through up here in your menu up here. So you can select this orange rectangle and go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. And so this will again rearrange it in the layers and put this orange one on top. Let's see if it works. There we go. So that's just another way to do it. I prefer to always rearrange things over here in the layers because it's easier for me to physically see what's on top and what's on bottom. So again, this is the layers panel here. I will usually leave this one down here so I have easy access to it. Usually it starts out pretty small, so I like to drag it so it's a little bit bigger, especially when we get to projects where we have lots of layers and lots and lots of shapes within each layer. Alright, so make sure after you've watched this video that you can do the following things. Make new layers, delete layers, rearrange shapes, move shapes between layers. Okay, so these are very simple tasks, hopefully, but they might take you a few tries to be able to do them comfortably. But these are going to be the things that you'll be needing to do throughout the rest of the class when projects get more complicated. Okay, so again, layers used for organize your document, and some videos coming later today or later this week will show you more of when and where to use these different layers features. Oh, you also need to rename layers, but move shapes between layers, that's a big one, and rename layers as well. So make sure you can do all of these things well and confidently after you watch the video.